Ancient technology, lathes. Lathe in ancient times, right? So we will start with something as simple as copper chisel and hammers, right? To do some woodworking mostly, but a little bit of stonework, but mainly woodworking, right? So that's how people assume. But anyway, what evidence do we have of lathes in ancient Egypt, for example? Now, I just believe in ancient times, period. Ancient humans been figured this out numerous times. But let's go to Egypt with their stonework and the possibility that they had lathes, even if some people assume they don't. What evidence do we have of that? So we have these images up here. Oops, right here, right, where on a stone wall, where it looks like it's a lathe. You got one person using a rope, pulling back and forth, pulling one way, left and right, pulling in opposite directions to make the lathe spin right, counterclockwise and clockwise, right? And while somebody else is holding a tool and working on whatever they're spinning, which more likely be something wooden. That's with this setup, it's better for woodworking, not stoneworking. But something bigger and better, for example, would be better for stoneworking, right? So because stone is a harder material, you would need something bigger, stronger that can handle it. And what if the jet pillar that we see in a lot of depictions in Egypt was that? It's a depiction of a lathe, but soon to be something else, like the spine of Osiris, but like a religious item. But it's like, what if it actually is technology? Because if we created temples and we want to show our greatness and what we're capable of, we'll have like images of smartphones and stuff like that. Ancient humans, I mean not ancient humans, humans 1,000 years from now will be like, oh, this must be something they used to worship their gods. What, a smartphone? Technically, if you want to call celebrities gods, right? All our favorite YouTubers and TikTokers, if you want to consider them gods, and we use our smartphones to worship them, then you would be correct in that regards. But realistically, it's technology. Can technology be used to worship gods and vice versa? Right? So anyway, so to me, science and religion is one and the same, but that's for a different topic. The main thing is, what if this pillar depiction is that their technology? There is a lathe, right? Right? Because there'll be gears and it'll be able to spin, right? And you have up here, you have these protrusions, and they are the male right parts that connects into something so that they can spin, right? You will have like ropes here and stuff like that. You connect it to a water wheel, or you just move it by hand, a lot like over here that they're doing with the rope. So over here is kind of like they're using a small miniature lathe, jet pillar, to do some working. Over here, you see like a human size, because here's some humans, right? Human size version that will let you do bigger things, you know. So so there's the lathe thing, right? But here's the thing: why would we, besides these little images, why would we believe they have lathe, even if we didn't have these images to give us the idea of ancient Egyptian having lathe? Well, these round stone bases over here, right? They're round. Even the interior, the way it's hollowed out, is hollowed out round in a circle, right? It's not like it's hollowed out in a square shape, which I'll show you images of that. It's hollowed out in a circle. Right? The outside is round. So a lot of roundness, a lot of spin, right, is the point I'm trying to make. Why don't bases look more like this? It's easier to make bases this way. See, this is red granite right here, and this is red granite. Why didn't they make bases like this? All you needed was the inside was more important, because that's what is the container parts, the part you fill with stuff. The outside is very irrelevant. Plus, a block shape will be better for stacking and storing and whatnot. Plus, you're using less material, because we all know that it started off something like this, and then they cut a whole bunch of material away just to make this, just to make this version. And it's like, that was a lot of extra unnecessary work. You didn't need it. And you could be like, oh, they like things to be pretty and whatnot, like how we do in modern day times. Like, oh yeah, I don't disagree with that idea, but technically, it wasn't necessary to go that far. Like, you expect few examples of these pretty vases and a whole bunch of block vases or plate vases like these over here, where it looks like you clearly did it with a chisel, didn't use a lathe, you didn't spin it, you just chipped at it, and you have all these flat surfaces going around, and you try to make it round, right? It should look a lot like that. It should look a lot like over here, like how this tube cylinder one is flat all the way around, but it kind of gives it a round shape, but it's still flat. Right, because it's simpler that way. You didn't need to go too far and smooth it out completely, right? Why didn't they make, like, make it like these over here? where it's just like a box, like a square tube. Why did they have to try to go around? They could have made it a whole bunch of like these and add a little design to it. It would have been simpler to do it this way. Easier to do this way. It still works. It still holds the same amount of volume that you want to hold with whatever material you're holding. And then the fact is you could decorate it. You can obviously carve. That's the thing. You can carve like hieroglyphs on stuff on it, and it would have been cool. It's just weird that we didn't see a lot of this. 'Cause I expect a lot of this, like this shape right here, and then hieroglyphs or shapes like this with hieroglyphs, right? Like you would expect it to look a lot like an obelisk. Because wouldn't it be cool like a vase that's like the shape of an obelisk? You take the pyramid part, the top, pull it off, and bang, you have a vase and put whatever you want in it, and then put the top on it. It looks like an obelisk, right? So why didn't? Because we know they can make that shape. They can make an obelisk shape. They can make a pyramid shape. Why would a lot of the containers have a pyramid shape where you take the little capstone, so to speak, right? Take the top off, and boom, now you have a vase, right? Just something that I noticed. Like it seemed a little weird considering the fact that they are associated with the shape of a pyramid, the shape of obelisk. That's one of the symbols that we associate with the Egyptians. But for some reason, a lot of their small stone-based objects aren't that shape. Kind of weird, right? You think you would expect to see more obelisk-shaped vases, right? More pyramid-shaped vases, maybe even some sphinx-shaped vases where you could take the head off and put something in it, or take the nose off. Anyway, you get my point, right? It would have been cool to have like a Sphinx piggy bank, right? Put your money in there. But anyway, it's like, why go extra to do all this extra stuff? Because it is a lot of extra work. You took something big like this, a block like this, and you took a whole bunch of materials off to make it smaller. Because these handles here let you know how much material was, how big the material was before it was cut down into this shape. Because these handles are part of the part of the stone. So clearly, these handles is the limit. Is how far out the material was. So if you were to do the math, you would know how much material was um, was wasted because you literally just broke all that material off and threw it away. It's like you created a lot of unnecessary material. And then what you do with it, right? Where did it go? Where did you put it? But anyway, that's for another conversation, right? The main thing is like this was not necessary if you were doing it by hand. Is the point I'm trying to get at. It'd be easier just to make it like this right here, which is good enough, or here. Now, granted, you could do it like this and then by hand, start polishing it, right? Start grinding it by hand, and try to get it smoother. It's not impossible. But there'll be a lot of signs that make it obvious that it was done like this first and then smoothed out through polishing. These, however, when they're examined, look more like the polishing, what makes them smooth and gives them their shape, came from the process in which they were cut. So they weren't cut first and then polished. The process of the cutting that was done was involved the polishing as well, which means these things were spinning, something hard, right, was pressed against it, and it was not only cutting, it was polishing, or it was polishing at high speed. So polishing was the method of cutting, right? Instead of chipping away pieces and then smoothing out the rough edges, you were just taking a whole bunch of pieces, right, bit by bit, through a grinding process. So this was spinning when it was being worked on. Is the point I'm making, which is where the whole lathe thing comes. Just pointing that out. Don't want to beat a dead horse. Just showing you some stuff to think about. The idea that what if the jet pillars were. Now, I always believe that technology is used has more than one use, right? So the jet pillar wouldn't be just for a lathe. It could also be used as a pulley system. You can use it as a pulley system. I've seen some people. One guy in particular, use it as a pulley system. So, but at the same time, because it was spinning, it's like, well, that could also be a lathe, a tube drill. That's another thing. It's like this could be a tube drill, a lathe, a pulley system, right? Like this has multiple uses because its basic design is just the whole idea that it spins, right? It's round. Now, there's some depictions where they're trying to depict that it's not round, not a round cylinder shaped object, but typically it would probably be round. But even if not, let's say we go with the non-round version, even a non-round version of this will still work because once it spins, it technically becomes round, right? So there's that. Just wanted to point that stuff out. Something to think about. Go do your